Welcome to the Budget Mom YouTube channel. I'm Kamiko Love from thebudgetmom.com, and today we are doing another real life budget. Today we're going to be looking at Yvonne's information, her and her boyfriend. So this is going to be only her information because they do their finances separately. I have a note here about all the little ways that her situation is a little bit unique. So her and her boyfriend have been together for about 5 years, and they're both pretty well off when it comes to finances, meaning they have a pretty good grasp of what's going on with their money, and they have very specific goals that they know that we want to work towards. Actually, when I looked at her information, I'm like, why does she need my help? Because it seems like they make great money for where they're at in their lives. They have amazing goals that they're making amazing progress towards. And after asking her that question, it comes down to the organization of the Budget by Paycheck method. And I think this stumps a lot of people in the beginning, even if you are doing okay with your finances, or maybe you feel like you don't make enough income. The organizational step of this method can hang up a lot of people. So we're really going to be paying attention to that because I know that's her pain point. So let's look at all of her information. So the first step in the Budget by Paycheck method is to figure out and establish your why. Why are you on this financial journey? So let's look a little bit at her story and her why. Her why is stability. I want to invest in my future, be able to provide stability for myself in the event anything happened. I may not be buying a house right now, but I want to be able to without having to worry about a high mortgage payment. Now, a little bit about Yvonne's story with her boyfriend. My boyfriend and I have been together for 5 years. We've been living in his house for the past 3. We are very well established in our careers. Both of them are in the military and have good financial relationship. We are very much on the same page with our goals and desires. We keep our finances separate, though talk regularly about them. My biggest goal is to save for a house I can purchase in the future as a rental property. We also love to travel. I'm an E6 in the Air Force, making regular contributions to my Roth TSP. I also want to be able to build up my current photography business and grow that in the future. I have no children and no debt either, so I'm really looking to build my wealth and create a life I enjoy living without going into debt. I'm about to leave for a 6-month deployment, which will allow me to save exceptionally more money. During this deployment, all of my living costs are covered. It is also a tax-free zone, so my goal is to take this time and really focus on those financial goals. So this is currently where she is at. Now, in the Budget by Paycheck method, the second step is to track and categorize your spending. Now, I assume anyone who sends me their information for these real life budgets have done that in order to give me the information that they have. The next is to identify regular bills. Let's dive in a little bit more into her information. So this is just her income. She makes $4,058 a month. She's currently getting paid on the 1st and 15th of every month. Now, each paycheck is $1,879, but I think there's something important to mention here. This is after rent money is taken out, put into her boyfriend's account so they can pay rent. So that money is taken out before she even creates a budget, before she sees the money. So that's really important to note. Money is taken out of her paycheck every single time she is paid. It gets put into her boyfriend's account, which then they pay the rent with. Now, she does have a small photography business she's wanting to grow. She gets about $300 per month for that. And the amount varies, but at least $300 receives throughout the month, no set payday. So this is kind of just extra income coming into her life when she can make it with her side business. The third step in the Budget by Paycheck method is to identify regular bills. So let's look at her bills. And this really surprised me when I saw this, but keep in mind, this is just her bills, not her boyfriend's. So she pays for a gym and personal trainer. She has an apparel subscription box that comes to her Netflix, Disney Plus, Adobe, Creative Cloud, and Spotify. Now, when I first saw this Adobe expense, I thought to myself, that should really truly be a business expense. If she is a sole proprietorship, even if she's filing her business under her own social security number, or she is an LLC that has an EIN number for her business, she should be still keeping business income and expenses separate from her personal expenses. So if it were me, I would put this in the business budget and budget accordingly with the $300 that she makes of income to cover that expense from her business. I would completely separate them. So that's what I noticed right away. So her bills equal $238 a month. That's just her fixed month-to-month bills. But when we dive in and look at her variable spending, that's when things get a little bit high. So she does $50 a month. Now, this is not step number 4. We're looking at her cash envelopes and variable expenses in her life. These are expenses that fluctuate month to month. They're more unpredictable. So she gives herself $500 a month for food, $50 for pets, $100 for fun, $300 for self-care, $100 for household, $100 for gas, $100 for clothing, and $200 for golf. Now, this may look very, very different than someone who is, say, paying off debt. Okay, a lot of us don't have golf in our variable expenses, but we have to remember that she is debt-free. She has a good grip and grasp on financial management and her financial goals, and she's making progress where she wants to in her life. So she is saying to herself, rather than having this expense get away from me and overspending in that category, I am creating a plan, a spending plan in my budget to have that money to spend accordingly. And I think that's very smart. Remember that our money is supposed to bring us joy. We're supposed to be able to have joy with the money that we do have, but we have to do it in a very responsible way. We have to plan for it. And that's what she's doing here with the golf and the clothing and the self-care and the fun. Okay, this is her way of establishing those spending boundaries. So the next thing is we need to look at her budget calendar. But before we go to do that, let's look at her savings goals. She has some major savings goals. So her number 1 goal is a house. She wants to save $1,000 per month for that and buy that house in 1 to 3 years for that rental property. She already has $11,000 saved. Her next goal is to have a new car. Now, this car situation is very unique in the fact that she owns her current car outright. She does not owe anything on it. She owns it. And so before she leaves for deployment, she's going to sell the current car that she has, and she's going to then buy a new car when she gets back from deployment. And she's expecting around February of 2022. Now, she has $3,500 saved up to buy that new car, but that is one of her goals and her plan with that. She also has some sinking fund goals. She has a goal of $3,000 for vacation. She already has $1,500 saved for that. She has a sinking fund for holidays. It's just a revolving one. There's no goal. She just adds to it monthly, $100 every month. And then this car maintenance is really her car insurance. This is another unique situation about her case. She pays her insurance premium every 6 months instead of monthly. And sometimes that can be really smart because you can get a discount by doing that. So you won't see car insurance in her regular bills. Like when we looked at her regular bills, car insurance wasn't part of that because it's paid for 6 months out. She pays that once every 6 months. So she has a sinking fund where she does $100 a month to have that money available and ready when that time comes to pay that bill. So even though it says car maintenance, just know this is to pay her car insurance premium. Let's look at the organization of this because I know that's where she was really having that pain point. How do you organize your information even though you have things set up really well and you feel like you're making good progress with your finances and you're in a good place with your finances? The first thing you need to do is write down and get a budget calendar in place. This is where you're going to write out your paydays and all of your bills. Remember though, your budget calendar is also to lay out real life, appointments, dental visits, doctor's appointments, real life events, holidays. All of that needs to go on your budget calendar so you know what to include in your budget breakdown or in your budget paycheck bill tracker. So we established the first thing, writing all of our paydays down on our calendar. We then highlight what bills we're going to pay with each paycheck. Okay, this is the budget by paycheck method. You are making a budget every single time you get a paycheck. So everything in purple we're going to pay with this paycheck here. Everything in this teal color is going to be here. And then we're going to use the 31st paycheck to cover August bills in the beginning of the month. So once you have that and you know what expenses you're going to pay with each paycheck, then you can use what we call a budget tracker, and we're going to write down the income that you receive. Now this is going to be the least amount you expect to receive. You're gonna write down your fixed expenses, and what we decided to do with her case is because she had so much money left over after paying her fixed expenses, we said, let's just take care of all of her variable cash envelopes for her variable spending with this first paycheck, so she doesn't have to run to the bank anymore throughout the month or worry about it. So we covered all of those variable expenses that I showed you when I was going through her information, which would be all of these. So her entire budget for the entire month is already done with this paycheck. We're then gonna cover $100 and take care of that car insurance premium that she started that sinking fund for, and then that vacation. We have $8 left over, and we're gonna use that to go to our house goal. Okay. All of your income minus all of these expenses should equal 0 because you're using a zero-based budget. Now, when we move on to the 15th of the month, for her paycheck on the 15th, we have that same income. We're gonna pay all of these bills that we see here in teal, which is just these 3. Now remember, we don't have any envelopes to stuff because we already stuffed them with that first check. So everything else can go towards her financial goals. And if you have your goals prioritized like she does, then you know exactly where to throw your money. We're gonna put the rest towards that holiday sinking fund because we already took care of the vacation and car maintenance. Now we're taking care of that sinking fund, and the rest, $17.25, can go towards that house goal. And then nothing is left over. So the organization of the budget by paycheck method really starts with getting that budget calendar completed, getting your paydays down, what expenses you're gonna pay with each paycheck. Make sure to include any events, holidays, things like that, real life on your calendar, so you can then move that information to your budget tracker. And then it's a matter of simply writing down the information, especially if you have already prioritized where your money wants to go based on what you're trying to accomplish. So let's talk about some of the other unique stuff going on with Yvonne's situation. So it's also important to bring up that her parents do pay her cell phone bill as well, which is why you're not seeing a cell phone bill in her fixed expenses. So really, she has the money to reach her goals. It's a matter of knowing where to throw that money when there's extra when it comes to her budget. So the first thing we're gonna tackle is that house goal, where you can tackle that fairly quickly with the extra money that we have with her income. The next thing I do want to recommend is that she look into fully maximizing her retirement. Now, I did know in her story that she said she is making regular contributions to a Roth through the military retirement. But with a Roth IRA, you can only contribute so much, right? So every single year they put a cap on how much you can contribute to a Roth IRA. So I would look at possibly into an IRA, like a traditional IRA, not a Roth. Somewhere else that she can throw more money towards retirement and still get that tax advantage retirement account benefit. So that would be my only recommendation. She has the money to really focus on building wealth for her future self. And that's where I would look at, especially because we put $1,700 in 1 month towards her house savings goal. So I feel like she could reach that goal fairly quickly, and even possibly the goal of saving for her car when she gets back from deployment, especially because all of her living expenses are paid for while she's on deployment. So this is a fantastic time to cover those two big goals, the house, the car, and then to branch out and expand and research what her options are in the military as far as retirement. Is there another account inside her thrift savings plan, case called TSP, inside the military retirement program where she could throw her money besides just doing the Roth contributions where she's capped at a certain amount? So if you found this video helpful, please like it and don't forget to subscribe.